It's like two.
I guess it would help if I unmuted things. I'll say that again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Smart Gamer Live Town Hall. Malice was making jokes at the beginning, so he distracted me. With me today, I've got Malice, who's the joker of the group. I've got Pookha over there. Hi, Pookha.
Bob
Dark Lord
Ross.
Pookha.
Zeb is back with us, and he's clean shaven. We're still
Go
kind
Zeb.
of out to lunch on whether or not we like that. We also
don't
have.
like
You don't like that? Well,
I don't like it.
you're the one that did it.
I know, it's terrible. I'm my own worst criminal.
New with us
Where
today,
they
we
wake
have Fox from CC, Crowd Control.
From Fox and Friends. What?
Fox and Friends. I'm curious, what does the Fox say?
That's inappropriate for this channel.
Okay, fair enough. And as usual, we have our Dark Lord terrorist down there.
Good. Give in to your anger.
So
You
we're
either live long enough to be a Care Bear or you die a ganker.
one of the things that we are starting this week
Well,
is, I guess not really this week, but this season would be some conversations about different sacrifices that people within leadership, whether you are an officer or a guild master or a community leader, make for the betterment of your people, for the greater good, or even just a single person. So today we'll be talking about sacrifices in-game that different guild leaders and or officers make. So probably one of the biggest examples of that to start with would be the fiasco that has been Arcade Unchained. You know that some of us have, well, all of us started together on the same server. There was a great alliance, and then I know that a number of people moved to other servers for various reasons, even though they wanted to stay.
Yep.
We did not win.
You did not win.
Did not win.
I've seen that guild around. I love their name.
So those of you that have jumped ship within Arcade Unchained, why don't you go into that a little bit and talk about why, from a guildmaster standpoint, which could be a little bit different than what your members may view or think they see.
So for myself and with Part-Time Heroes, I was looking at the situation. Arcade had been out for over a week, and it was basically the week after launch. I was looking, and a good portion of our guild hadn't even been able to get in and make characters. And beyond that, people weren't able to play the game. And when you have a 4-hour queue, and if you crash in the game, you're not playing tonight.
No.
That's basically the bottom line.
They're working on that.
We weren't able to play together as a group, and I posed the question to the guild. I personally didn't want to move. I didn't want to lose the assets that we already had. And on top of that, there's the monetary costs, because some of us had those pre-order packs, which were applied to our original characters. And we kind of discussed it, but and we also had to pull the trigger too. We can't. That's not a decision you can just sit on. And ultimately, we decided to make the move, and it wasn't fun. And in my opinion, as I told everybody, I didn't like either choice. Moving sucked and staying sucked. And ultimately, I think it was the right choice, because we've been able to actually play the game. And the time that you would normally spend in queue, you could actually be playing, and you would be caught up with where you were in no time, and then some. So you kind of take that all together, and I personally think it was the right choice. I think Gamigo is working on getting us our packs so we can apply that stuff. The lack of inventory space right now is killing me. But sometimes you got to make those tough calls, and you have to make a call that doesn't really benefit you personally, And even when we did make the move, we went to some of our guild members. It's like, hey, we are moving. If you want to stay on win, we 100% understand. But for the betterment of the group, we need to do something.
Yeah, I'll tell you where we were coming from, and I was getting this for us. The conversation started Friday, and I was getting some text. I believe it was right after the stream. One of my council members, Jeggers, was sending me some text. Shout out to Jeggers. Have to do his poop shout out. He's probably pooping right now watching the stream. He was
I don't
He
see
was
Jaggers
like-
on the stream list, so I don't
that
know.
as well. Yeah, he forced me to do it. He rolled on what server we on, Taco? Jurgen starts with J. I don't even know.
Jurgen.
We're all Jurgens. We're all
Jerking off.
We're on
Yeah.
jargon it. Yeah.
So he rolled on Jurgens and on the East faction, and he was just messing, trying. He's like, we need to have a serious conversation about the possibility of moving. And I was like, no, we don't. He's like, we're on win. We made a commitment to win, and we're sticking it out. Now, I will say the past week, so when they opened up character creation that past Monday, we had finally, after a week, gotten every person that was coming into Arcade with us, they had at least gotten a character created.
This is still on win.
This is still on win.
Yeah.
And for a lot of us, that was like, finally, everybody's in after the long week of turmoil. I was like, everyone's in, and now I got, one of my leaders like, we need to move. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? I was like, I got to stop this. I got to shut down this conversation fast, or it's going to breed into a potential split, was where I was coming from. But ultimately, it was like, well, we got to have a conversation. Which is what we always do. And so we had a meeting. We kind of had a pre-meeting before we even set the meeting. People just were coming in and wanted to talk about it. And ultimately we laid it all out. For us, we had 5 members after week number 1 that were above level 50.
So glad you didn't do this.
We had 5. What are you talking about? Oh. We had gotten 5 members above level 50 after week number 1. It's atrocious. The members that were left were exponentially being left behind for reasons of they did not have remote access set up to their computer. So while they're at work, they couldn't log in to game the queue, or they weren't exploiting like everyone else in this channel was, using hammers, weights, whatever.
I'm sorry. Taco, why do you have a hammer?
So
That's how Taco gets through the
basically
queue.
on win, how I skip the queue is I'd press this on the W and the E key, so that way my character would be going around in circles all night, and I would skip the queue.
This is the meta. I mean, this is what creates the queue, but this is also like, hey, this is, if you don't do this, you're not playing the game.
And
At the end of the day,
if you say I'm exploiting by being AFK, I'm just leveling my mount.
well, yeah, he's that's just gravity doing what gravity does, isn't it? Why did you happen to leave those cameras or those hammers there?
And keep in mind, you never have to queue if you never leave.
So yeah, I mean, again, our members that were there, we were using these methods to stay in game, and the other members that hadn't gotten in, a lot of them weren't able to get their character created on Saturday or the 2 other 5-minute windows that they had on Sunday and Monday. Totally understandable. And so they only were able to get their characters made on Monday. Of those people that were still behind, they weren't using the methods we were having to use to stay in game. And I get it. We are ultimately a casual gaming community, and it's like, we're not asking people to plan their lives around staying in game, which was the status quo if you were active and playing on win. To that end, ultimately for us, this is what it came down to: is Wynn's economy got destroyed because of the exploiters. Yes, that's very true. That will even out over time. Absolutely, but that amount of time, well, it will to a certain extent, but the point is, I don't know if we're still going to be playing Arcade in the year it will take for that to even out.
Good point.
And so, and I don't know. I promised my guild 3 months when we went in here. I was like, we'll probably get 3 months out of this, and that was the expectation I set. And I was like, I don't want to experience 3 months of that on win, and what that'll be like, and just a repeat of everything we've seen. So there was that, and there was the fact that regardless of that, it wasn't going to get better for the people that weren't getting in. So we were gonna lose half the guild, not to something else, just to nothing, back to the status quo of not being active and participating. And it's like, there was obviously a desire to play the game. They could not. It's not that they couldn't, but they wouldn't. They weren't going to do the methods everyone else was employing to stay in the game. And that's fine. You shouldn't be asked to lay a hammer on your keyboard or TeamViewer into your computer from work to log into queue. I don't think that should be the status quo, but it is, and that's okay. So the conversation started when they said on stream, hey, we're going to give you another pack on your account. You can send it to a new character. We were like, let's talk. That was the straw that broke the back for a lot of people. And we were like, we'll go deal with this if there's a promise from Gamingo that will be reimbursed our money. And I still left money on win. Like I still bought an Arc Pass, exploring the Arc Pass system. I paid 1,500 credits for an Arc Pass, only to have all that just because of looking like I'm eventually going to open this Arc Pass and do it. So why not while I explore the different things?
We made that call before we got that word from Gamigo. Like we took that hit.
Yeah. And so, we sat down, we had a conversation. We were like, guys, let's go. And Friday night was probably the most fun I'd had since Arcade's launch. With 20 people logging into a new server and us just running around blasting through level content. And Land Rush was that Saturday. We're like, if we're going to do it, we got to hit it hard. And we did, and we went in there and we hit it hard, and we got every single piece of land we wanted. We were able to acquire it. And it was great. And it wasn't because it was uncontested. That was the best part. It was there were agreements made at land drop, and we marked it out with different. We marked out the quarters with plants.
We did that too.
The same.
We just marked out everyone's plot areas and had conversations with people around there. Like, what do you guys need? What can we work?
So
and everyone just marked their stuff.
I kind of want to
Foxy screen.
I kind of want to add to that with Pookha. Being someone on the West Coast, if the hammer method failed for whatever reason,
it's just now a defined determined method.
It's not a macro.
But well, technically, I only work like maybe 500 meters. Like my workplace is across, like just down the street, so I'm just away from my keyboard. I could just come back, no problem. But anyways, being on the West Coast, when you have a server that has a 4-hour queue, I get off work at 4:30 Pacific time. That's when anyone Eastern is well into the game. So if I came home, I would basically put myself in queue at 4:30, assuming the hammer didn't work. And I would be in queue until 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And not only that, but while I'm in queue, I can't do anything else because the game is still taking up resources on my machine. And I can't play other stuff. Like I can't go play Star Citizen with my other guys. I can't do Rising Storm 2 and tell GI to go home. And I really didn't like how the game was monopolizing my computer for an entire evening.
Can someone start a GoFundMe to get Poison some more RAM? That's inexcusable, Poison.
Yeah, you're right.
Like it had no effect on my playability.
Everything in the world while I was sitting in queue.
He apparently needs a better hammer too, because apparently the one he's got fails. So.
Oh no.
Well, no. Anytime they did like a restart or anything like that, I'd be hooped. But I just didn't like how that mentality of if I get in, I might as well play it because otherwise what's the point of waiting another 4 hours? And of course, if you crash, you're not playing that night. I didn't like that mentality of
Couldn't even do CR raids. They were too scary. They were too scary. You'll crash.
But the game was essentially monopolizing my evenings, and I did not like that at all.
So, Fox, I know with crowd control, you guys kind of had an interesting go about this change. Do you want to speak into that at all?
Yeah, like essentially we had this very similar issues to what everyone's mentioned, but we kind of took it a little bit differently, where we kind of wanted to stick it out with Win because that's where the alliance was. But some of us who worked, the 9 to 5 rat race and couldn't do the remote login and whatnot, I got my wife to log in for me while I was at work, and she would text me the queue. Other people would do the remote login. Exactly. And a couple of us that missed the character creator, we created an alt on Runert. Unfortunately, on Runert West, we created both West characters. And then as the days went on and more people couldn't create characters and more people couldn't get into queue, they started seeing like, hey, someone went over to the various servers. And then when we found out, when we actually started talking as a community instead of our little groups, that the majority of us were on Runert East, we decided, okay, well, you know what? Everyone that wants to play as an alt, like, let's just go to that server. And I mean, that created, of course, a lot of kind of headaches because some people, like we had 4 or 5 people that were, level 55 plus, right? By the time we all decided to make that switch, they were hardcore gamers. And a lot of them went over to Malice's group, right? So, but those of us who couldn't, who were, didn't create a character, were level 30, we had nothing to lose except for our pass. And those of us like me and Treville, we actually made West characters, and one more made West characters on Runert. So we actually had to delete our character, but our character were level 31, so we had to wait a week before we could even actually play with everyone else. So we again dipped into the monetary fund and actually bought a second account just to be able to then play immediately with our colleagues, which sucks because I spent a lot of money on the in-game currency to have a nice little bank account for buying stuff, which I had to abandon because that's not an account that was locked out of that particular character.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, financially, I have maybe $100, not including the game cost itself, on Win, locked into accounts. I mean, I hope to one day go back to kind of claim that, but then I had to buy a second account, just to be able to play with my friends. So, I mean, it sucked. It created a lot of heartburn within the community for those of us that wanted to stay, those of us that wanted to stay West, some of those of us that kind of wanted to just actually play. But at the end, we've been playing for a week. Most of us are like mid-40s, but we're playing together, and that's what's key. There's usually someone on. We're usually playing. We've had a couple group nights, so it is better now that we can actually play together. Because those of us, I mean, the hardship is, let's say you did get your wife, to sign in, or you were AFK and you log in. Well, everyone else is behind that AFK wall. So then all of a sudden now you're playing by yourself, or like there's 1 or 2 other people, but they're like in a completely different zone, right?
Yeah.
So then you're like, well, shit, I just did all this, jumping through hoops and making sure everything's working, and then I get in and no one else is on, or the people that are on can't play, or they're on but they're AFK, so you don't know if they're just ignoring you.
Or you're trying to level and you're leveling by yourself, and you're getting your ass ganked, and you can't call your friends to help you because they're number 837 in queue. And likewise with us, we got a few of us on Jurgen up to level 40s and 50s fairly quickly, and those are the people that were at 30. We put together this massive gank squad of 10 people. So the guys who were under level, they were doing their quests while the rest of us were just kind of roaming and killing everything in our path. It was awesome.
Yeah,
you couldn't do that on Win.
Yeah. Malice, I know that Plague has stayed on Win, and obviously there's some sacrifices there by losing the Alliance and some other things, given that Win is trash.
Really trash. Wow. I mean,
we believe in you. Keep that alliance going, guys. We believe in you.
Still using the queue. Well, we've just moved into new alliances. We're friends with a couple of new guilds. So, and very large guilds, nonetheless. So, they're mostly using us so they can get votes for leadership, but that's fine. Hero votes is hero votes, right? Other than that, we're sitting in queue. Everybody's pretty been muscling through it. I don't know. That's the thing, is we've all been through this before in so many other games that it's like, well, It's you just do it because what is the first month of the game? At the end of the day, it's generally irrelevant. And while we would all like to go play with our friends and do everything like that, it's just the level grind up. And so now we're all about 55, some ancestral level, whatever. And now we're finally able to group up and started to do group raids, group farms, and stuff like that for money. And that's about where we want to be because a lot of us are pretty solo minded in our leveling anyway. I mean, I like the group, but a lot of people would rather just solo. So yeah, at the end of the day, I feel that most of Plague just muscle through it. They're just like, "Yep, we're here. Let's just do this." And people bitched and whined about the queues, but at the end of the day, it was like, well, we can leave, but a lot of people bought the like Arceum packs and all the other stuff like that, and it was like, do we want to leave that behind? I mean, if they were going to offer us a transfer, even if we had to delete our character, to transfer that pack somewhere, we'd have thought about it. But and like Shavvoc Fox said, in the end, sure they're going to offer you it soon, trademark someday. Considering how bad Gamingo has been in. Let's see, I lost all my property on Legacy because even though I'm paying for Patron, it refused to show up on my account, and there's no way to contact Gamingo to get it back. We've had so many exploits, random. They're like, did an exploit happened? They shut down Arc Pass so that they could give us these little feeder packs of stuff that got exploited. I'm just like, come on, it's so fucking bad. I can't ever accept the idea that Gamingo's someday gonna give me back my pack. Fuck that. Like, whatever. I'll say at least the queue is a for sure thing. I know what the hell a queue is. I know it will happen, but I know I'll also get through it as opposed to the rest of the bullshit.
I'm just trying to wait for the Crest brainstorm to work. I spent credits on that on both servers, and it won't freaking work. I just want my goddamn guild logo on my goddamn cloak.
Tell us how you really feel there, PoisonTaco.
I will kill I will purple a level 30 every day until I get my goddamn guild cloak, Gamingo.
Oh man.
Here you go, Gamingo. The terrorist has spoken.
His demands have been set.
So
The
going
30
along,
will probably kill him. That's the best part.
yeah, they just might. So this has obviously created some fun stuff that we've had to work through, and the guilds as a whole have sacrificed quite a bit. I want to transition now, and I'll start with Zeb on this one, to when we've started our guilds, our communities. There were a number of things that we had to do as leaders of our own time to make sure that the guild had everything going. Wanted to speak into that a little bit. And Zeb, I know that you've recently just started something, and there's a lot of time sacrificed there. So it's all yours.
Well, whenever you start a guild or a community, your number one sacrifice is time. Your time versus your personal time, your gaming time. You must sacrifice. Leadership is generally about sacrificing for the good of others. And if you don't view it that way, you're in the wrong game. Because unfortunately, leadership that holds their leadership as some sort of mountain that others have to travel to even reach you is flawed at best. Dictators don't last. Generally, even the most hard-hearted in the panel will tell you that, well, I'm talking to you now. But even the most hard-hearted in the panel will tell you that they have sacrificed to hear individual members' concerns about a small issue on whatever particular game they're having, because that's the type of sacrifice you make. You have to. If not, you're playing the wrong game.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, They are laughing away. But at the end of the day, I will agree completely in the sense that I, over the very long course of running the Plague community, have had everything from working with people through their divorces, working through with guild members through life's tragedies. How I've helped people find jobs. I've done all kind. I even helped somebody early on in my days of gaming start like be the only sounding board they had because I was not connected to anybody they knew because they started to go through the transition to become a trans woman. Like, I have experienced all kinds of crazy, unusual conversations, and you kind of have to be. You're a bartender, you're a pop psychologist, you're that
You're all
shoulder
things above,
right?
and you have to be. You have to be.
Yeah,
Because who else is going to be there for your community if you're not there?
So having being that bartender of sorts, have you been able to do everything that you've wanted to do in the games when you get in
No.
there with your guilds?
No.
What are things that you've missed out on? Was it worth it?
General exploration, general PvPing, finding opportunities. All those things have to be sacrificed in order for the guild to have a good time. You're placing yourself in charge of other people's time, and that's very serious. People giving their time to you because they think that you're organized and they think that you have a plan. If you don't, then the consequence is that people have wasted their time with you, and there's no greater offense in the community than having people waste their time with you.
Has it been worth it?
Always, for me at least.
See what I kind of found is like there's if you look at the the ancient military strategies of kings and rulers, you had the rulers that would lead from behind, and there was those that led from the front. And I find that if you want to do the things you want to go do, you be that lead from the front guy, because a lot of the times, no matter how active or interesting your guild is or whatever like that, oftentimes they're just like, ooh, we just want to do something, anything. And so then you're like, all right, well, we're going to go do this. I'm putting a group together. We're doing this because this is what I want to go do, and people will follow you because they have nothing else better to do, because that's why they joined a guild, because they were partially looking for someone to guide them through content and guide them through whatever. And I don't mean like handhold them or anything like that, but just to, to rally the troops and make sure that they had a group and whatnot. Because we have a lot of members who are big into the, I don't want to pug. I mean, I want to run with the guild. That's why I'm in a guild. So,
but doesn't that mean that you are still limited to the slowest person in your guild?
Yes, but that's also why I have always been big on not being, when it comes to gear and things like that, I always make sure I gear up everybody else. So at the end of the day, I'm the slowest. And the people that are slower, and the people that are slower than me accept the fact that they're going to be sitting on the wayside until they can group up with the other people that are that slow and get moving.
I don't think that's always true. I think the easiest way to look at it is if you've got 25 people in your guild, but you've got 10 people that are like rock solid operating at or above par, and 15 people like, dragging their butt, then you need to take on content that is appropriate for 10 to 15 people that are operating at par with your 25-man guild. Like, that's just, if you want to bring them success, and then you slowly bring in the other challenges and bring those people up to par. You can't, if your people are below par, like, you can't go do something that requires 25 people operating at par and just fail, right? Like nobody wants to do that. You've got to bring them wins, and you've got to build their confidence in themselves. They have to believe that they can do what they've been told they can't do. Like
I'd rather take an A team of 5 people and rotate that that 5th slot out and get people the experience and educate them and level them, and carry them so that they can then do it to other people.
Yeah, this is all a game of deception. Everybody's really just garbage.
Yeah.
You got to make them believe they're good. You got to feed it to them. Like,
You're not wrong.
You can't. But
Well, considering how my experience has mainly been on the PvP side of things, you got to make people believe that they're good, so that way they could be your frontline infantry. Like in
there's also
PoisonTaco always likes expendable troops to shovel forward.
like in Planetside 2, usually an outfit leader would be sitting in the gunner seat of a liberator, kind of just like hovering over the battlefield, and you're like, "Okay, guys, go in on the point. Go in on the point. I'm raining down the artillery. Don't worry."
Deb, you were saying?
Desire for
well,
sacrificial.
none of these guys are wrong. However, I would like to bring up the point that when you start your guilds and when you start groups, and especially new fresh games, you have to manage your content, but you also have to see what the very weakest person is doing, because that person can drag your team down immediately. If not, if you don't pay attention to that weakest link, you will suffer consequences all over your morale.
Fox, anything to add there?
No, I mean I have to agree with him. I mean, yeah, it's like if you have like say some of the weakest link, whether it's they just by play time, by gear score, by mindset. I mean, if you help them up and you identify that and you help them out and you bring them up to your part, I mean, you're only winning as a team, right? You're only showing that you're leaving no one behind, right? So that's what we've been done. I think the lowest level person we have in our group currently on Runer is maybe like 4 levels lower than the average. So like we can all still group. Maybe there's like 2 or 3 people that are like out of the grouping range that are in the ancestrals, but other than that, like everyone can group together, because we always like, if let's say someone's really lagging behind, but we know their play schedule and they know they're going to catch up, we would just do something else. We would craft, we would farm, we'd set up, you know, we'd do exploration quests, right? So,
See, we actually kind of divvy things up into kind of specialties. We have some people who are just not great at dungeons, or they're not great at PvP, but they shine at something else. Like they're fantastic at setting up our neighborhoods and farming and crafting and things like
Shout
that.
out to Jenny.
So, and she's good, but you know, it's not her love affair. Put it that way. And she would rather sit there and manage all of our land, do all that other stuff, and that's great. And you know, you use people's strengths in that way so that instead of them feeling like they're left behind in one way, they're leading in a different direction. You know, they're leading in it. You know, it's you know, going back to my kind of like leadership of kings kind of mentality, and you're going to war, you know, you can be the best crews that run all your supply trains, or your best crews that run your artillery, or your best crews that, you know, you don't have to be the strongest infantry.
Jenny's mad at you now.
I did not call you bad. Are you saying if I was going to call you bad, I would call you bad?
So let me throw out something for you guys, and you can give me your feedback on this. If I want to start a socialite guild and just have a truck ton of people and have them the ability to have fun, and I want to have a raiding group, and I'm just going to go and charge and do my thing, is this a successful guild if I'm basically just, yeah, come be a part, but I'm going to keep charging forward, and eventually we'll get to do raiding and this kind of stuff? Is that something that's successful for me?
You're a successful guild if you meet the expectations you set for your members when they joined.
Yep.
And if you didn't?
That's it. That's it. Then you should reassess those expectations or reassess the
they're-
members that
those
you
people, and those people are going to
Um,
find themselves a new guild.
recruit.
Well, but that's the thing
Yeah.
is,
Well, people vote with their feet. They're not going to stick with you if you don't keep to your word, first off. And second off, if you don't make them feel like they're a part of something, then they're definitely going to walk. There's nobody sticking around saying, "Oh, you took us to content that we didn't want to go through, but you did it in such a great way." That's not happening.
see, what I find is that I believe that every server and every game is rewarded greatly by that person who is basically bad but wants he's the Facebook like collector of guild leadership. All he wants to do is like, oh look, hey, my guild is awesome, I can prove it, I have 3 trillion members. Okay, I mean, none of them work together and no one's afraid of your guild at all, but like, sure, but that guy makes sure that every newbie has a place and a home, and they don't need to be meet any criteria or live up to some grand standards. They have a place in a community, and then as they learn the game, most of those players move on. Some of them don't, but it's a constant revolving door guild, and that's kind of what they want. I think it's a successful guild in the sense that it is a necessary evil of the game. Because I don't want noobs. I don't want, if you don't know what you're doing and you just came to the game, I am not recruiting you. And most good guilds aren't. I mean, that's just a reality. You have to figure out what you're doing before you decide that you can then start looking for the more organized guilds.
Let me go into some different challenges I've seen and experienced over the last 4 years. Because before reforming Part-Time Heroes, I was part of Star Citizen organizations, groups that were purely Star Citizen organizations. And I can tell you, there are people that went full bore hardcore into organizing their stuff. And even like 3 or 4 years ago, like, I would be like, okay, you're going too hard at this. And if you're playing the game every day trying to run stuff, that's not going to work. You're going to burn yourself out before the game's even out. And I've seen so many people go at it and go hard only just to crash, like just a few months into it.
Yeah, the brightest stars burn the fastest, right?
Yeah. As much as
I don't have a game to play either.
Well, I mean, as much as you need to sacrifice, you also need to learn how to pace yourself, because if you go at it too hard, you're going to sacrifice too much of your real life. You're going to sacrifice too much of what is your own fun. You always need to remind yourself that when you are running a guild, this is your free time too. This is your precious gaming time outside of your real life commitments, and you need to benefit from it too. So if you find yourself sacrificing too much to keep everything together, you also need to reevaluate and go, am I having fun with this? Because your free time is just as valuable as your guild members' free time.
I think a lot of guild leaders don't become guild leaders so that they can balance the expectation of having fun versus sacrificing their time. I think some of us are sadistic enough that we like sacrificing and helping the people that want to be with us and play within our communities to an extent. Pookha, you look like you're about to say something. Or you're constipated.
That's for I think for us in leadership, that's a big portion of the gameplay. Like that's our game, like sitting here watching the pixels move, it's whatever, but interconnecting the relationships and helping people have fun, enhance the amount of fun they are having with their moving pixels, and filling that gap and bringing people together in this virtual world created by these different developers. That is our game. That's why we're doing this. That's the fun we have.
That's your sense of accomplishment.
To an extent.
Don't forget pride. It's pride and accomplishment.
Pride and accomplishment.
I mean, you definitely
It's ego.
No one here doesn't want their members to enjoy themselves. Again, it comes down to, having those expectations so that everyone in your guild knows what you're here for, and it's, some people are there to win. Some people are there for lulls. Some people are just there just to be there so that people can passively just find other people, It's setting expectations is by far the most important. When not, especially when it comes to not allowing yourself as a leader to be pulled in so many different directions, because people will come your way that want to do things that you're not doing. Like there's like, no, you guys aren't great in this area. I want you to step it up here. What can we do to step it up here? And you've
so
got
glad you asked. Go do it.
Yeah, you want to get delegated, that'll happen real fast. It's like one of those things where it's like sometimes you really got to evaluate. It's like, is this what we as a guild want, or is this what the majority of members want? And sometimes they do want it, but they literally can't put the time in, and you've got to step back and be like, that's okay. Sometimes it all depends. That's a community specific discussion that everyone has to have. And you really got to check yourself, because if you want to burn your guild out fast, try to raise the bar to a place that your guild just doesn't belong, because its members are not made of the stuff that get to that level. That doesn't mean they're not great gamers. It's just like, it means they might have like lives outside of gaming.
No, it means they suck.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to juggle both.
I never acknowledge that whole entire RL game that people play. Yeah.
Well, the graphics suck. Let's be honest. And the developer, hate that guy.
Dude,
So
the end game where everyone dies, it's just lame.
And that's made ever more evident by
also it's the worst case of pay to win I've ever seen.
It's made even more evident by very open-ended sandbox style games like where a lot of us are playing right now in Arcade. It's like that sense of like, I don't feel like I can put enough time in there to compete. It's like, well, sure, because you have a life that you're putting time into just outside of this. Like, you've got to check yourself and be like, that person you can't catch, that's fine. You're not going to catch them. This is their world. You have your world. You're just visiting in their world, right? Sometimes they just come and visit in your world before they go back to their world here in Arcade. Like, everyone's got their different thing. You've just got to realize, where do you want to be?
Inception.
Quantum physics with Pookha.
Pookha's Inception.
Well, we just we try to ride both of them a little bit, spend some time in both. But obviously, we think the physical world.
The quantum.
We think that physical world is more important. That's the stance we take here in HOL. But every guild's different. There are some guilds that do not think the physical world is more important than the virtual world. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, going to the bathroom, that's totally for scrubs.
Yeah, poop socket or else.
All right. So since Smart Gamer Live is all about the sharing of experiences and learning from each other's experiences and the crap that other people have gone through, biggest sacrifice that you guys have made in game for your guilds or for another person in your guilds for the greater good, the biggest thing that you've done, why did you do it, and was it worth it? What was the result? I feel like I need a key to play some Jeopardy music here. If you're watching, everybody just play Jeopardy music in your head while they think about this.
Okay, I'll start while the other guys think. For instance, when we switched to Win, I had a couple colleagues at work actually come approach me, like fellow gamers, but we never played the same game. They said, "Hey, we're looking for a new game," and I sold them on Arcade. A month or two before it launched, I sold them on Arcade. I told them, "Hey, we're going to Win. We got a community set up. We got an alliance set up. They're all hyped." They created characters on there. But both of them spend most of the time working from home, so they can get into queue at like noon, right? For them, there's no queue. They just queue it up in the background and just continue doing their work. And I left those guys behind, like colleagues from work, real life friends behind on Win when I moved with the guild. And I mean, everyone in the guild knows that. I say, hey guys, I still have a piece of my heart in Win because I have real life colleagues and friends that are in that server. But I still decided to switch my main to go follow the guild. I mean, and for me, like that's just the most recent sacrifice I can think of.
Was it worth it?
I'd say yeah. I mean, for two fronts. One, if I'm playing at home when I'm called in sick, they don't know. And two, I have a lot more friends. I mean, like I have two friends in real life that are like, I kind of know they're okay. Or I have guys I've been playing with for 2+ years, weekly. So for me, although they're, let's say, digital friends, I, in that scenario, would rate them higher than the friends I have in real life.
So did you lose those friends from work? How has that relationship been?
No, what I did was I gave them my
strained?
land. We just still talk. We just talk about different economies. They're on west, we're on east. So we just kind of shoot the shit, like what's going on in yours. Where are you guys struggling? What are you guys doing now? Like, we're setting up our 16x16s. We're working on our farm cards. They're working on their second set of land. They're working on their Hiram gear. So we're just kind of more just talk about the game, not so much particular topics, because it's two different economies, two different play styles, two different sides, right?
Biggest sacrifice in your gaming career? Come on, Pookha, I know you got many.
No, I mean, if you were to ask me, it always essentially comes down to time spent developing or integrating some piece of technology into the guild, right? To
Such
help
a
us
nerd.
organize or to help us. I mean, that's when it comes down to a time sacrifice. Like, I've never had to cut ties with a friend, or like that's just not how we operate, right? Like, we're not gonna. I don't have friends that would put a game first. Not to diss your colleagues. It's just like I've not had that type of situation where I've had to make that choice. For me, it's like it always comes down to a time sacrifice. It's just like the sacrifice that we spoke of here. It's more of a like you want to be playing a game, but it's like you can't because you got to work on the TeamSpeak server permissions. Like you got to get this stuff rock solid so we can actually utilize it. Because the whisper lists aren't working right and people are complaining and we can't get stuff done. Or you're working on something else to help keep people communicating together, working together. Some sort of tool, that's ultimately what my time investment has always had. Or networking with someone else to bring in another group of people, like an alliance or something, so that your guild can have more people to choose from to play with, stuff like that. Those are the things that I would sacrifice. I've never had to sacrifice a relationship, I don't think.
So your time has been your biggest sacrifice over the years?
Yeah, it's just been time. And
Been
there
worth
have
it?
been oh sure. This is quite it's not a humongous sacrifice. I mean, because what's the alternative? Like, I'm doing this to help people play a game, or I'm just being selfish and playing a game myself, like, of course it's worth it. You're giving of your time and yourself to other people. It's that's not even a question if it's worth it. It's the question is that I would have is was it the most efficient use of my time for the guild? That's the only reflective question I would have in different endeavors, but you can't know that till you walk down the trail.
Well, and I mean, it's the same thing as asking, was it worth it, in a different way.
Sure.
Zeb, what do you got?
I sacrificed myself, my position of leadership several times in guilds that I've led. Now, when I've had people to pass it down to, like in CC, I very much did so. Now, have I nuked entire guilds that I didn't have the time to run anymore because of personal issues or work was intruding in it? I have done that. And the worst part is that people think that it's a selfish decision, and you're really making a choice for them, and how they spend their time, because I wasn't able to give them what 100% of what I think I am as a leader. So the biggest thing I've sacrificed is my leadership itself.
Has it been worth it for you?
It's never worth it. It's just what you do for the betterment of your fellow gamer.
Malice?
I lost finger.
He's a Yakuza member. Malice is actually Yakuza.
In all seriousness, things I have sacrificed a lot, really. I have lost friendships. I have I've spent shit tons of time. My current endeavor is a current war I'm having with my own guild, which is about to turn into me turning the whole fucking server to push to talk.
That's a losing battle, man.
Yeah.
I'm on your
down
side,
that road.
Malice.
Open mic for life.
Been down that road. Bunch
The,
of console plebs. Thinking it's Xbox Live. It's at Xbox Live. You got a keyboard. You got a lot of buttons, and you better learn to push them.
I start off by telling people if you're not responsible with your open mic, then you're going to get a push to talk for Christmas.
Oh, we've heard some stuff. Man, we've heard some stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Man.
I sacrificed my poor virgin ears after hearing it.
Big virgin ears.
Sometimes you're like, do I need to lawyer up? Do I need to lawyer up?
Virgin
I
ears.
still kind of wish we would have recorded the guild member having sex.
Oh, God.
Like,
I've seen that.
Wait, you've seen that?
Same thing that we're doing here, and they was just jump in the back, and okay, good for you.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
open video worse than open mic.
Seb's pleasure house.
Dangerous stuff we're heading into.
And I've done, to the point where, and don't get me wrong, I do things because I also enjoy them. It's things that I want. But like, we do a guild cookout, and that's definitely a sacrifice of my time as well as many of my officers' times to make a really good time so that everybody can get together once a year and kick it. And I think we have a lot of fun. I think everybody enjoys it. But, to the point where I was last man standing at the last cookout because, well, I got to make sure that some of the less responsible drunks get to bed.
Crawl into their space.
Right, crawl into their space and finally pass out. And just make sure that no one gets hurt, and at the end of the day, I mean, you're always kind of mother henning it to a point, and people get annoyed by it sometimes, but that's also how you keep everybody happy as opposed to a small group of people happy. So
Has it been worth it for you over the years?
well, I wouldn't have done it for 20 years if it wasn't worth it.
Some way, shape, or form.
Yep. Oh, I mean, I still have fun. I mean, at the end of the day, that's part of also the reason why we do the cookout is if Arcade deleted tomorrow, like Kamingo just folded, they were like, server's going down tomorrow. Sorry, we fucked it up so bad we don't even know how to unfuck it anymore. We're just deleting the servers. F off. Okay.
Derek Smart was right.
Right. Then I could drag at least a large percentage of people to a Minecraft server and go hang out and have fun. I mean, that's the thing, is we enjoy the game more for each other's company than the game itself.
Yeah, agreed.
Taco.
I sacrifice the better part of my Saturday evenings every week without fail, because if I don't do it, no one will. Granted, we're getting to that size where one person can't really run everything effectively. So I'm starting to appoint new leaders so that way nothing is too dependent on me. But I've always kind of had the attitude of, if no one is going to do it right, you might as well do it yourself. And so
that's why I had to be a guild leader in the first place.
Yep. And a lot of it is the time, because I've been in groups before where we would run stuff every Saturday afternoon because we had Europeans in the group, so we had to make sure that they could attend. And in that previous group, no one else was pulling their weight, but I had the mentality of we need to do something every week, because if we stop, then no one's going to show up and there's going to be a death knell and your activity will cease to exist. I can't tell you the countless amount of evenings I've sacrificed to get a Battlefield server populated, sitting in a
Something's gotta be on the
server.
calendar. Something's got to be on the calendar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
only we had calendars in Discord.
Yeah.
Hit
Or
Discord.
TeamSpeak 5. Calendar.
Or
He's another TeamSpeak.
but I mean, like when you play Battlefield, could I go into a random server with 64 players? Yeah, that'd be a ton of fun. But if my group is paying $90 a month for our own server, someone's got to sit in it when there's only 2 people. Is that the most fun time in the world? No, but it has to be done. So I mean, there's a lot there, that a lot of time and effort I've put in to make sure things run as they should, and it comes at the expense of my own gaming time and my own enjoyment of these games.
Yep.
And the other thing too is, because I'm running stuff in these games, I don't have the time really to play other single player games as well. So a lot of that is eaten up by guild endeavors.
So have your sacrifices been worth it for you?
So far, yeah. I mean, I get to do stuff that I can't do in other games, so I kind of get high off of that, which is kind of nice, but whatever.
I terrorist.
Oh, that is, I will say, and I mean, maybe the rest of the guild leaders here will agree or disagree, but honestly, it's that the A team. I love it when a plan comes together, freaking high. That when you finally get everything organized and everything's rolling forward, and then you just stomp the living crap out of whether you're doing dungeons or whether you're doing enemy raid PvP or sack a castle or do whatever you do. That rush and that high is the drug that we get fed for our efforts.
It's the validation.
Most recently, the high that we had when we pulled off that pool party with the 890 Jump Club and Star Citizen, when we stormed in that pool room and shot everyone up. Oh man, you can't replicate that. Now the last 8 years, that was worth it just to shoot up those fuckers. Worth it.
So those of you that aren't watching chat, maybe you're on your phone. If you've got questions or have an idea or comment you just want to hear these talking heads comment on, please stick it into chat now. We'll start with one from Anto, who was our stunt beard last week because Pookha could not make it. Pookha, you're going to have to go check out your stunt beard that stood in for you there. So
We'll do.
Gentlemen, who takes care of you? Do people look out for you? In game or out of game?
I would say that that's part of the job of your the highest levels of your officer corps, because they're the only people you can really kind of show the cracks of weakness to, of where you're really having problems and frustrations, because you don't want to dump your frustrations and problems on the guild, because your job is to absorb their frustrations and turn them into action, not the other way around. So I would say that it's your highest levels of your officer corps is usually who you build up to be kind of your sounding boards and the people who are going to go, all right, you're clearly having a bad day. Let's go take you out farming or whatever.
Pookha, who looks after you?
I mean, probably Cass, my wife, more so than anyone else. We're pretty open with everyone in the guild, though. So, I mean, from a guild situation, there is nothing I hide. If we have an issue that I'm struggling with, that's not hidden from my members. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to hold a facade to them. We wear everything on our sleeves in HOL from the standpoint of leadership. If we have a leadership meeting, the members are there. You know what I mean? So it's like everyone kind of has a co-ownership in the situation, and everyone kind of also shoulders that responsibility when issues arise. So that's just how it is.
The Harbingers of Light commune.
Zeb, but that keeps it's rarely that we get to a breaking point because of that.
Zeb, who looks after you?
Everybody you touch in game, it should have the ability to touch you back, or it's fake. It's a fake relationship you're building. Thank you. I appreciate it, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Notice how everybody reached out to touch you except the terrorist.
He looks like he's falling asleep. But seriously, if that person that you spent 3 hours talking about the death of their cat and meaningfully didn't reach out to you when you have a personal problem that is affecting your leadership in the guild, then there's something wrong in the balance of your relationships. I don't believe in everybody absorbs. I absorb everybody's problems, and everybody doesn't absorb my problems as well. Because unfortunately, what leads to that is an explosion point. Sorry, Malice. I apologize. I respect you greatly, but that explosive point is dangerous for the guild and is dangerous for your players.
Well, that's why I don't have an explosive point.
Except when he's drunk. Then it, yeah.
Yeah, I just tell everybody to fuck off all the time. So I mean, it's like no one really knows much.
Okay, Zeb,
rather like, oh.
No, Zeb, if anyone's gonna have explosives, it's me. I mean, C4
That's
is
true.
my drug in Battlefield.
That's true.
All right, Fox, who looks after you?
As an officer, I tend to hope to just look after Zeb and my other officers. This guy over here. So, I mean, I got my wife in real life. She doesn't play, games online, so I got my personal life taken care of. She does a great job at that. So I feel I have that opportunity in game to kind of take on more, like soak up a little bit more as like a sponge. So, and my cat takes care of me.
Yeah, cats they help a lot.
They love you or they hate you, and probably a little both. PoisonTaco.
They love to hate you.
Yeah.
Who looks after the terrorist?
The hammer.
Hammer time.
Okay, but really, who looks after you, Taco?
I'm quite capable of taking care of myself. I keep my personal life personal and my internet life on the internet. I'm quite confident in my own capabilities, and I do this purely for my own enjoyment. I run a guild because I want to do stuff that I can't get by not running a guild. AKA, I want those moments of sneaking aboard at 890 jump and shooting up a bunch of whales. I live for that stuff, and for me, it's kind of like a giant RTS game, and it has like diplomacy elements involved where I'm working with other people. There's the management side of it, and it keeps my attention. And I'm the type of person where if I don't give my mind something to do, then I go stir crazy. So this is me taking care of myself.
And thanks for the follow out there.
I don't even know how to say that.
Lucifer.
But if someone does really want to take care of me, in Star Citizen, when they add the equivalent
Here's the pitch.
When they add the equivalent of C4 explosives, if you deliver that to me, I will love you forever. That will be my drug.
Love from the terrorist. All right, guys, the closing thought, just the quick comment. If somebody is in leadership and is having to deal with a lot of sacrifices, whether it's time or this or that thing that you can say the best to help take care of yourself or help you get through that as somebody who's in leadership.
And I do have one more thing to say. Paradigms of Anto. I wouldn't say I'm a terrifying terrorist. I'm a persistent motherfucker. I may not succeed the first time, but I will be there a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time.
Clearly,
I will make something happen.
Clearly, you don't get the Ahmed
we saw your jail list on Win there. You're very persistent to dying.
Yep.
To answer Zalen's question, I would say obviously you're never alone. You have a community. You're trying to do this for other people, and you have to be willing to lean on other people. Generally, the people that are easy to lean on are the people that you as a leader will look to for officers. If that you feel like it's something that doesn't need to be shared with everybody. But I don't know. I mean, it's not all on your shoulders, and you should never feel like that. It's that simple.
Well, in the end, to me, the best way to build a successful guild is to build it from the idea of build a system that tomorrow I could retire and step down, and it will continue on. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Do you have any different advice?
No, just reiterations of what they both said.
And you got to make sure your guild members are good at killing people.
Yeah, always make sure you recruit the best murderers, especially if they're good faction trolls and general asshats. Them's the best.
Speaking of which, we did an operation in Star Citizen a couple weeks ago, and basically the plan was I got a bounty on my head, so that way the mission will pop up for people to come and try and kill me. And then I went and hid in one of the new caves that they added. And basically, the rest of my org was set up around this cave, both on the ground and in the air, and they would just murder anyone that came in to try and collect the bounty on me. And then I was also sitting there in chat, just trolling people all day, saying like the worst things you could possibly say to piss people off. They'd pick up the bounty and try and come after us.
Fox, any advice for people in leadership on how to deal with everything?
Will it matter in 5 years? You know what I mean? That's the thing. Will it matter in 5 years? If it won't, like some of the issues we had last week or 2 weeks ago, when we had to switch from Win, is it as much of an issue now? Not as much. In 2 weeks, it'll be even less. A month from now, it'll be abysmal. A year from now, would have almost forgot about it. So will it matter in 5 years?
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this lovely edition of Town Hall. Catch these two knuckleheads on Tuesday night. Gentlemen, time. I can never remember. Why can't I remember? 7 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, over there.
That's 7 America time.
7 America time.
America time.
I'm from real America, where it's 6 Central.
If you've never seen the MMO grind, it is on Smart Gamer Live. These two knuckleheads will either go head-to-head on a topic, and they are phenomenal at conversing with each other, arguing, or every now and then they will bring on a guest from a dev to young gamers to people within the gaming world that you may not normally have conversations with. Trust me, you will learn things listening to these two guys. So we will see you all on Tuesday night and then again back here on Sunday. Thank you so much for joining and the follows. Appreciate you all. See you next time.